Hey guys, men's Danny Coach HarryWilmington here, and on today's show, I'm giving you the Shy Guy's Guide to Sexual Escalation. If you're watching this at youtube.com/HarryWilmington, hit the like button, subscribe button, and the bell icon to be notified of new episodes. So let's talk about sexual escalation. I put this video together because a lot of you introverted and shy guys, I keep seeing you guys write questions asking, well, how do I know when's the right time to make an escalation move? Or how do I know if a woman wants to be sexual with me? Because in an ideal situation for us, a woman would just say, hey, I'm ready to get sexual. And that way there'd be no question. There'd be no wondering if she was going to be actually agreeing and consenting to this act that's about to happen. And we would be able to just go for it and not be all in our heads about it. But since that's not really how that works, and since you do have to look for signals and read things, I want to make sure that you're able to know what those things are to be looking for and things to be throwing out there to test and see if a woman is ready to go to that physical level with you or not. And so I'm going to give you 7 things to do and or look out for so that way you'll have the best read on the situation and know when it's time to go to Pound Town. By the way, if you'd like more of my help, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the products tab, and check out my ebooks, audiobooks, video courses, and freebies that are all designed to help you out. You can also click on the coaching tab if you want to hire me for one-on-one coaching. And of course, if you find any value in this video and want to show your support, there's a donations tab at the website as well. All right, so the first thing you want to do in this process of sexual escalation is you want to study the situation. Specifically, you want to study the current surroundings that you're in. Are you in a car? Are you at a restaurant? Are you at your place or at her place? Does the situation allow for escalation to happen? Now, I know it seems weird that I would mention other places besides your house or her house, but trust me, situations can go down in cars and in restaurants and in bathrooms and other various places if you have a willing participant. But the point is, you want to really study and see if you're in an environment where sexual activity is more likely to happen without interruption or without any kind of nervousness on her part. The second part of sexual escalation is you want to study her, meaning you want to really look at where she is in relationship to how she feels about you. And so this doesn't mean asking her, hey, so are you going to be a willing participant in our sexual experience if we decide, if I want to try to come at you with some sexual stuff? That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is look at over the course of either this date or the past few dates to see if there's any chance that her desire for you or how she's been interacting with you has increased in a physical way. So for example, looking at her, has she been complimenting you a lot or flirt with you or say things like, oh, you're so wonderful or yada, yada, yada. Where is she at in terms of how she feels about you? And these are things that you need to start to learn how to read and interpret. And that's why I got a whole website that's devoted to helping you with this kind of stuff, because these are things that I had to learn that I didn't know at first. So if a woman's giving you certain kinds of compliments or saying certain things or doing certain actions, that's going to hopefully give you a read up on if this woman would possibly be a candidate for wanting to go to the bedroom with you. If you cannot read those things, go to the website, click on the products tab, check out my stuff, and you will be well on your way towards learning what some of those things are, so that way you can get a better idea of whether or not she'd be down for it. Number 3, you want to study where you are with her physically already. So in the course of you guys dating and seeing each other and talking to each other, where are you at in terms of physical touch? Have you been able to kiss her? Have you been able to touch her on the palm? Have you been able to kiss on her neck? What areas of her body have you already touched that would indicate that if you were to go a bit further, she wouldn't mind? If you're not touching her at all now, you don't want to go from 0 to 60. You don't want to go from you're sitting there and just talking to her till all of a sudden you want to jump over to her and start kissing her. Trust me, guys, that is not a route you want to go. It rarely ends up in a situation where she wants to go further. More often than not, she feels creeped out. So you got to study that. Have you gotten that first kiss already? Has she been touching you and snuggling up to you? Have you guys had heavy makeout sessions? Where are you in the area of physical touch with this woman? Number 4, assuming you've already broken some kind of touch barrier, let's say you're with her at home and you guys have been making out on the couch and you're feeling like you want to try to escalate things. Well, you don't have to go right for the sexualized parts, i.e., her breast or vagina, stuff like that. What you can do is go for what I call tester areas, meaning there are areas on her body that are a little more risque than just like the hand or the shoulder, and they might lead towards those other parts, but they're not exactly those parts. So for example, let's say you've taken her to your place and your arm is around her, and after a while you guys start kissing and making out. At this point, you can test by taking your hand and, for example, moving it towards her leg and just kind of rubbing your hand on her leg a little bit and seeing the reaction you get. Now, the reason that's great is because it's not so strong of a move that she'd be creeped out if she didn't like you, because you're not directly going for in the sexualized parts, but it's close enough to them to where she'll get an idea that that's where you want to go next. If you're able to make that move and she doesn't hit back against you, then that's a positive sign that she's possibly interested in you going further than just touching her leg. Instead of touching her chest, for example, you can take your hand and kind of move it towards between, like almost like between her armpit and her left or right boob. Like it's kind of like in this area right here. If you're watching a video, if you're not, it's like near my shoulder area, like basically near her chest, but not all the way on her chest. And so you can kind of start rubbing there. And if she's accepting that, then you can start trying to slowly go down closer to some other parts. Okay. Now, if at any time when you're doing these tester touches, she pushes back or she says, I'm not comfortable with that, then you need to stop. And even if she doesn't do that, if you feel her body tensing up or she's looking like she wants to say no, but she's not saying it, because sometimes women get in their head and they don't want to feel like they're ruining the moment. But you got to be able to read that as a guy, because courts do not care if you weren't able to read that or not, okay? But so if you feel any kind of tensing up or tightening or any kind of thing that indicates that she's really not comfortable with those movements, then you know, based on that tester, hey, she's not ready for that. Let me back off, okay? But assuming that you do those movements and it's all systems go, then you go on to the next part, which is tip number 5, which is making the suggestion to her that you two move to another part of the house or location that is traditionally known to have sexual activity happen. So if you're making out on the couch or whatever, you could very well proceed to try to do stuff on the couch. Like if you can fully do that, if you're able to do that, and I've done it before too, by all means, all systems go. But with that said, women typically are more comfortable in a bedroom of some kind just because it's flat. It's not like all weirdy and cushiony like the couches can be. And for your first time, you really want to make sure that you're able to give your best performance, which is most likely going to be on a bed. So you're on the couch with her, you're making out, you've tested some areas with the touch, at which point you can say, hey, you want to take this to my room, or hey, let's go to whatever part of the house is in a more proper location to hook up with, okay? This is the point where you're taking the biggest risk, because this is where she has to actually say yes or no, and you could risk possibly her saying no. But with that said, if she does say no, you can not make it a big deal. Like if you say, hey, let's go back to this other part of my place or whatever, she says, oh no, we can just stay out here. That's a signal to you that although what you're doing on the couch right now feels great and is allowed by her at this moment, she's not quite ready to make the big step to go all the way by rejecting that room. So you're not saying, hey, let's go have sex. You're saying, hey, do you want to go to the bedroom? Or do you want to go to this other part of the house? And if she says yes, all systems go. At that point, you should pretty much be well known that you're about to do some stuff, okay? But if she says no, then just know you're going to be on the couch wherever you're at, and then just enjoy whatever level you're at to that point. Just take that, because ideally there'll be later dates whereby she feels more comfortable. And this date that you're on right now could just be the jumping off point to her seeing how good she feels when you're touching her in certain ways that she might want to escalate the next time you see her. Tip number 6, assuming that you've gotten the okay in her tester zones and whether or not you've been able to go to another part of the house that's a more sexualized location to do things, the step number 6 is very important. And that is you want to go from the tester areas to what I call the hot zones, because the tester areas are great. If she's allowing that, that means that she's getting more comfortable with that touch. But now you want to start to lead more towards those areas that are going to really get her motor running. And again, these are hot zones. These are not sexualized parts, because there are other parts of a woman's body whereby if you kiss them or touch them, they're going to get her even more aroused and can actually lead her to basically jump in your bones. For example, see this part right here, the inner wrist right here? On most women, this is actually an erogenous zone. If you start kissing this will actually lead down to where her vagina is, and she will be able to feel the tingles of that when you're kissing her up here. Also good, the back part of the neck and ear part right here, like this is another surprisingly good zone to kiss at. So if you're touching the tester zones and they seem to be working good, and you want to kind of like really amp up how horny she is, go to these various parts. You can go, like I said, the inner part of her wrist, the back part of her ear/neck. Also sometimes for some women, the inner part of her thigh, if you're allowed to even get down there at that point. If you're not able to kiss it, you could be touching and rubbing on it and massaging it. Also, might I add, massages, very, very good tactic for trying to spark her arousal a lot faster, because if you're making the other parts of her body feel relaxed and feel nourished, then she is also going to be relaxed and nourished and more apt to feel comfortable with letting you into other parts of her body, including the various sexualized areas. And then tip number 7, this is another kind of big step, okay? But this is assuming that you've done the tester touch, all things were a go. You suggested another part of the house that was sexual, all systems go, or she wanted to stay where you guys were at, but she allowed you to kiss on some other hot zones that got her really riled up. If these things have happened, Then you want to go for the big one, which is going for an area of undress on her. So this means, let's say she's wearing a blouse with a button top. You want to try to go for those buttons and see if you can get like just one of the buttons open. Or let's say your hands are near her pants. You want to try to go for either the zipper or the button part of her pants or the belt, okay? So all these motions though are telling her without you having to verbalize it that, hey, I want to take stuff to the next level. And again, this is tricky because you don't want to look like a guy that's trying to rush and get in there and just get what you want. So you don't want to just like attack her shirt and try to just rip her buttons and stuff off unless you've already established that she's okay with that. And then same thing with her pants, okay? But these are passive, bold moves that as a guy, you have to make to tell this woman without any kind of shadow of doubt, I want you physically. Now, the nice thing, again, is that these moves, because you're not rushing it, you're just kind of going for the things and you're trying to see if you can get some stuff undone. If she is cool with it, she's going to do one or two things. Either she's going to allow you to try to unfasten these things, or if she's really horny, she's going to help you out by like moving your hand and like unbuttoning herself, buttoning her top or her pants for you, okay? And that's what you want to happen, because at that point, you shouldn't have any more questions in your head about whether or not this woman wants to go all the way. Now, on the other hand, you could go through these things slowly and she could like, again, do that thing that women are going to do if they don't want to do something, which is they're going to slowly kind of brush your hand away or just kind of like hit it away softly. And the reason they do it softly, again, is because they don't want to be seen as the bad guy. They don't want to be seen as a jerk. They don't want you to think that they're having a bad time. But at the same time, they want to say, I'm trying to create this boundary for myself right now because I'm not quite ready for this step. If that happens, if she bats your hand away, or if she kind of starts to get to move and kind of go back to the previous thing you were doing that she was cool with, just let it slide, dude. And this is one of those things you can test out a couple of times. So for example, say you go for her shirt and she kind of bats it away. Well, if you're making out with her for another 5 or 10 minutes, she might decide at that point that it's cool. At which point, if you do go for it a second time, she might be okay with it. But again, if at any time she says, no, this isn't cool, or she bats your hand away, if you try to unfasten these things 1 or 2 times and she's just not down for it, just know that you're getting a good makeout for the rest of the night. And if things happen to change, she'll let you know. But I've typically found that if you're able to get through the tester touches and then through the hot zone touches, more likely than not, a woman's going to be cool with you grabbing the parts of her clothes that you are going to try to take off to her. Because at that point, it's going to be like, oh, he wants to do this thing. Well, now I'm fully engaged. Let's go to it. But it's important for you to know all these steps because there are a lot of you shy guys out there right now that you're with women, you're making out with them, and they're giving you those come hither eyes and they're looking like they're practically ready to open themselves up to you, but you're still in your head about whether or not you should do a certain thing, or how it's going to make you look, or how she's going to feel, or that you don't want to be taken advantage of, blah, blah. And that's all noble stuff. It's noble that you're thinking about not trying to be like those other guys out there that are using her for sex. But as I've said before in the show, women like sex. And if they're attracted to you, and if they're showing you certain signals and you're able to do certain things that test out how far she's willing to go, then you're going to be able to give her what she wants in the first place, which is a hookup with you, a really great guy. So hopefully some of these tips will help you shy guys out there that are prone to not make a move. And for those of you watching this video that want to add your own tips, please leave them in the comments down below. And as always, if you need more help with this stuff, I am more than happy to help you out. I got a lot of great stuff at introvertdatingsuccess.com. Products tabs got ebooks, audiobooks, video courses. I got one-on-one coaching available. And you can always write to me with any question you have that I can answer on one of these shows at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment down below and I will definitely answer your question on one of these shows. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode and catch new episodes right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out my other episodes so you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.